Hey everybody, welcome to another vote of no confidence. I'm Andrew Fantasia, and I am going to be voting with no confidence with all of you today. Here's how this works. We've got two characters from Star Wars Legends, and they're going to go head to head, and we're going to definitively, maybe, possibly, absolutely for sure, find out which one is better. So here we go. Today's topic is going to be Prince Xizor versus Grand Admiral Thrawn. Now, I know what you're thinking. Grand Admiral Thrawn's not Legends anymore, Andrew. He's canon now because he's on Rebels and he's got his own book coming out, and I know. But the Thrawn I'm talking about is strictly the Thrawn from the extended universe. This is Thrawn as he was known before, just like this is Xizor as he was known before. So remove all the thoughts of Thrawn from Rebels out of your head. We're going to just go over the Thrawn that we knew and loved from the 90s books, etc., etc. Let's start off, though, with everybody's favorite green-skinned, chameleonic, sexual predator, Prince Xizor. Let's talk about the pros of Xizor. What makes him better than Thrawn? What makes him amazing? What makes Xizor so damn great? Well, for one thing, Xizor had physical prowess. He was a martial arts master. He could use his crazy martial arts skills, and that's skills with a Z, which is much stronger than with the S. He could use those to defend himself from anybody. There were assassins coming after him. He took them out. He boom, snapped their neck. It wasn't even a thing for him. He was just like, he didn't even break a sweat. That's how in shape this guy is. Xizor actually tried to go toe-to-toe against Vader. Not physically, but he tried to take Vader down. That's ballsy. Rather than just being another Imperial, which was what all the villains were like back then, Xizor was his own unique thing. You know, he was a crime boss, but he had even more depth than somebody like Jabba the Hutt or somebody like Boba Fett. Xizor's whole empire was put in front of us, his criminal empire. We got to see how he operated. With Jabba, that was more of a mystery. Jabba was just kind of on his throne. We knew he was Marlon Brando in The Godfather. We knew he had a following, but we didn't really get to see him utilize that. We just saw him reap the benefits of it. Xizor, we got to see the nitty-gritty. We learned how his business worked, how smart he was, the kind of practices he used against his allies and his enemies, and they were impressive. Xizor's story is a very impressive crime drama. So there is that. His relationship with his, I don't even know what to call her, his android slash assistant slash sex toy. I mean, let's call it what it is. Guri is who I'm talking about. Everybody's favorite human-like cyborg. She's fleshy. She looks human. She doesn't look like a droid, but she is a droid, and she's super strong. Xizor's relationship with her is fascinating because she is the only person in the galaxy who's not afraid to tell him the truth. If he does something that might not be the smartest decision in the world, which doesn't happen often because he's a pretty intelligent guy, but if he ever has a slip, Guri will be right there. She'll be the first one to say, "Sir, I don't think that's wise." And everybody else is so busy trembling in fear whenever this guy walks into a room that it's so refreshing to see somebody like Guri kind of stand up to him, to be like the Smithers to his Mr. Burns, but without the ass kissing, and just be like, "Sir, no, you're wrong. I think we should do this." But she's still loyal to a fault. And because he paid so much money for her, he respects her, he uses her skills, and he values her opinion. He doesn't just write her off because she's a cyborg, or an android rather. He listens to what she has to say and he takes note of it. And then there's the whole, issue of they're probably sleeping together because she is a fully functional human-like robot everywhere. So that is in and of itself a very unique thing for Star Wars. So there is that. And then there's the point of Xizor's reach in the criminal world. It was so far. He had so many contacts across the galaxy that he even managed to convince an Alliance pilot, a rebel pilot who probably worked with Luke several times. He managed to convince this pilot to try to kill Luke for money. That happens. A pilot tries to assassinate Luke Skywalker, and it's because Xizor paid them to do it. He managed to break the rebellion's code of honor and brotherhood to further his own evil schemes. And that is something that the Empire has never been able to do. Xizor did it first. Xizor did it last. That's insane. But there are cons to every pro. Prince Xizor is not perfect. In comparison to Thrawn, Xizor would not stand a chance against Thrawn because he's too busy being in love with himself. That's one of his drawbacks. Seriously, every time that Shadows of the Empire, which is the book that he features in, every time that book would switch to a scene from Xizor's point of view, it was always about him thinking about how much better he is than everybody else. He's like, I'm better and stronger and richer and sexier than everybody in the galaxy, and they could all be damned. I'm the greatest. He could give Romeo and Juliet a run for its money as one of the most passionate love stories ever told in the written word, that being Xizor's insane attraction to himself. Literally, he is in love with everything about himself. Every chapter that he's in ends with him saying, well, they can't all be perfect like me. And sometimes it gets annoying. By the end of the book, you just want to clock the guy in the face. So his own pride would really stand in his way if he was to take on Grand Admiral Thrawn toe-to-toe. Also, at the end of the day, Xizor's motivations are kind of all over the map. I mean, he wants to gain the Emperor's favor because it would make him rich and powerful, even though he's already one of the 3 richest and most powerful men in the galaxy. It's kind of like William Fichtner in the Ninja Turtles. He's already rich. He just wants to be stupid rich. So I think that for a guy who has so much, he basically has everything. His motivation for doing what he does is just sort of petty. It's petty. He's a petty guy. Then there's the big one. The big con that would make any Star Wars fan say, I don't like Xizor over Thrawn because of this. And this is the big elephant in the room. This is why everybody who reads the book curls their lip at the mere mention of Prince Xizor's name. That is, Xizor tried to rape Leia. I mean, I can't, there's no other way. I can't sugarcoat it. I want to sugarcoat it because I hate even thinking of that happening, but there is no way around it. Prince Xizor tried to rape Princess Leia. That was a thing that happened in this book. So there is that. So let's move on to Grand Admiral Thrawn. Thrawn is blue. He wears a white suit. He's a cool looking guy. But is he better than Xizor? Let's take a look first at the pros of Mr. Thrawn himself. Thrawn was the most unique Imperial in the entire Imperial Navy because he was an alien among humans whose skills were so invaluable that Palpatine ignored his own racism and gave Thrawn a position of huge power. He gave him command over an entire fleet because he recognized just how smart this man was. So for Palpatine to turn around and say, hey, you know what? Normally I don't like aliens because I'm kind of a skis ball like that, but you, sir, are okay in my books. You can have this fleet. Have fun. That just goes to show you what a guy Thrawn really is when you give him the power to command an army. He was a tactical genius. He was so good at what he did that the rebels really had no chance of beating him. In the end, he wasn't defeated by the rebels. He was defeated by his own hubris. The Alliance was not behind his assassination. If it hadn't been for his assassination, I don't think they would have stood a chance against him. I mean, he died, and then without his command, the fleet sort of lost the will to go on. Kind of. They were kind of all over the place. They didn't know how to continue. And the Battle of Bilbringi was, in the end, won by the Alliance without Thrawn present. He was so interesting because, unlike Vader, he didn't just kill his subordinates willy-nilly for making mistakes. He wasn't that kind of boss. He was strategic even in the way he doled out punishment, which is so friggin' cool. He would also always remember to compliment his subordinates for a job well done. That's important. He would compliment them when they did something right. Vader would never do that, and it showed. Okay, Vader was feared by his men, but Thrawn was feared and respected. It was, I mean, you would never see Darth Vader walk up to Admiral Piet and clap him on the shoulder and say, "You're doing a stand-up job, Admiral. Keep it up." That just didn't happen. I mean, so for Thrawn to come up to somebody and say, "Hey, listen, I know the rebels got away there, but You did everything spectacularly. You performed the way I wanted you to perform. Good job. Keep it up. And that right there boosts the morale of his entire Navy. That's what makes them so strong. He knew how to lead. And this made him more frightening too, because he wasn't just a rage-filled psychopath like Vader. All of his murders were cool and calculated, and cold-blooded murders are always more disturbing than like murders done in a red-hot rage. So when he's smiling and complimenting somebody, there's still that chance that he's going to turn around to somebody else and say, but you didn't impress me. And that's what makes it scary, because he is emotionally, he lets our guard down. Vader, we always know, be on guard, because Vader's just a mad dude. He's got issues. You know, there is nothing but wrong sides to his bed that he wakes up on every morning. Thrawn, on the other hand, is just, he'll creep up on you and be like, by the way, I didn't like what you did. So he's a lot scarier than people give him credit for. But there are cons to Thrawn. One of them being, for a genius military tactician, he went out like a wuss. I mean, he was stabbed in the back by his bodyguard. That's it. He was stabbed off screen, even though it was in a book. It happened. We don't see it happen. We just turn around and see that he's been stabbed. Really? I mean, so the anticlimax of that, like, I can't stress enough how anticlimactic that is. That's one of the greatest extended universe villains in all of Legends. That's how you treat them. That's how you kill them off. I mean, talk about he never gets his moment to go out like a boss, which is sad. And that goes into the second con, is that being the main antagonist in a trilogy of Star Wars books, it's pretty disappointing that Thrawn never, ever once interacts with any of these Star Wars heroes that we know and love. He's not even once. He's in the same room as Leia at one point, but she's hiding. She's in like a closet. He doesn't know she's there. She's looking at him through a crack in the door. They don't speak to each other. He doesn't even appear to them via hologram or on a screen or nothing. Like, at least, you know, say what you will about Captain Kirk and Khan, they never met, but at least they talked over the screen. You know, they had some FaceTime with each other. Thrawn was so separated from everyone. I don't even think they learned his name until the third book in the trilogy, or the end of the second. So it almost felt like you were reading two different books as opposed to one coherent story. You were reading the Rebels and you were reading Thrawn. It never felt like, even though Thrawn was always chasing the Rebels, it never felt like they were interacting as heroes and villains clashing. I mean, at least at the end of the day, Xizor did interact with Luke and Leia and Chewie and Lando. Thrawn never even learned their names. So, as a villain, he stands apart from what we would want to see. He doesn't seem as involved as we would like. He's like that step parent who doesn't really take you to baseball games or buy you trading cards. But moving on, that is our vote of no confidence. Xizor versus Thrawn. Who do you think's better? Who do you think's worse? Who would win in a fight? A smackdown to the death of EU villains. Remember, just because it's only EU doesn't mean it's not going to show up again. We know Thrawn is back, and who knows, Xizor could be right around the corner. So stick around, keep these guys in the forefront of your mind. You never know when there'll be truth to Legends. See you next time.
Hey scumbags, thanks for watching. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up on our video. As always, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Rebel Scum Podcast, for all the latest videos.